Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Gentech PC product showcase. Today's video is going to feature the Aorus X3 Plus V5 CF2. It's a lot to say, it's also a lot in that package. What we have is a 14-inch ultra portable high-end gaming laptop. As you'll see in our full-length video review today, that we have a very portable package but a lot of powerful hardware equivalent to what you'd find in a larger 15 or 17-inch laptop. So anybody interested in awesome gaming gadgets, stay tuned for the video, but especially those looking for a very portable yet very powerful laptop, this will be a very good video to take a look at and see if this is something you're interested in getting for yourself. So the process of our video is going to start with the unboxing so you can see what you're going to get when you order one for yourself. We do have a pretty plain outside box, but this is a double boxed shipment just like most of the other laptops are. The outside box will help keep it protected during the shipping process. As you can see, the inside box has very large foam inserts on the corners so it won't get crushed or get bumped around. A lot of times you'll see the outside box being plain and the inside box having lots of colorful artwork and advertising all the brand name features it has. The Aorus takes it to the economical level. It's a pretty plain box, just has the logos on it. Once you get it open, you'll find that we have the laptop on the top, showing how easy it is to pick up with just one hand because of the size. Underneath of it, we're going to have a little package that has our warranty and manual. And then underneath of that, we have a little gift. Here we get a small USB flash drive that you can use to keep some files on. Next up, on the left hand side, we have our power cable that's going to go to the power brick. So we'll dig a little bit deeper, and of course the last thing in the box is going to be the power brick itself. Nice slim profile. It'll be really easy to pack into a bag without it sticking out too much. And here is a close-up so you can see all the statistics for how much power this adapter produces. Okay, so it's time to get down to the laptop. We'll remove its protective cover. A nice flat black. You can see it does have some stylizing as far as the shape of the body. In between our screen and keyboard, we have a microfiber cleaning cloth, so it helps protect the screen from getting scratched during shipping, but you want to hold on to that so you can keep the keyboard and the rest of the laptop clean. Okay, we're going to throw the X3 on the scale. You can see it comes in at pretty much 4 pounds even as far as the weight. It does have the internal battery, so that's including the battery weight. If we throw in the power adapter as well, it brings you to 5 pounds and 5 ounces. So that's a very light travel weight if you want to carry this around with you all day. Okay, now that we have the X3 weighed in, it's time to go ahead and measure it up. We do have a quarter on the screen for scale, and of course our tape measure will give you the exact measurements. A very small wedge shape where the front is a little bit lower down than the rear side. Okay, getting right to business, we're going to get into our interfaces and connectivity now. Starting on the left hand side, we have a mini display port, followed by HDMI 2.0, which is 4K compatible, a USB 3.0 port, our two 3.5mm audio connections for headphones and microphone, and then we have the new USB 3.1 Type-C connector. On our front side, no connections, but we do have our status LEDs. On the right hand side, the SD card slot and 2 more USB 3 slots. And now for the final side, we'll go ahead and move to the rear of the laptop. Our lid is pretty plain, just has the Aorus logo on it. That's very reflective. On the connections, we do have a power charging port here in the center and a RJ45 connection port for the local networking. The next stop for us on the review is going to be a quick tour of the system BIOS. This gives you a quick little preview of some of the hardware, but mostly we just want to show the features inside of the BIOS that you have available for you. Alright, now it's time for us to move into our very first benchmark, which is going to be our boot speed test. We're running this with the included 512GB SSD from a cold boot. And of course, there is room to upgrade this to a second SSD, and then you can put those in a RAID 0 for even faster times. So with a single SSD, it's under 11 seconds for a cold boot. Moving on to the next part of our product tour, we're moving into the device manager. You can see for video, we have dedicated and integrated graphics. NVidia GTX970M mobile here for our dedicated graphics. Very high-end video card. Also a high-end CPU, we have the Intel i7-6700HQ. Also dedicated networking from Killer for our wired network connectivity. The SSD, we have a Samsung present with a slot to add a second one. And our monitor. The monitor is exceptional on the X3. Even though we're using a 14-inch form factor, we have the QHD Plus resolution for 3200 times 1800 pixels. With that much resolution on hand, it can be a double-edged sword. You have plenty of room for productivity, even though it's a smaller screen. Sometimes you might want a bigger screen, so that's where that HDMI 2.0 comes in handy, because you can actually put out a 4K resolution to a nice big screen. Alright, we'll go look at the rest of the features we haven't looked at yet. For the laptop on the outside, we have a nice large touchpad with integrated left and right clicks. Our palm rest area is in a full aluminum chassis, so a nice strong body. Standard chiclet style keyboard with backlighting. We'll go take a closer look at that screen now. Not only does it have that ridiculously high resolution, but it has 170-degree viewing angles. So that's a vastly superior view angle to some of the other TN type panels you might have seen before. Now if you look at the keyboard, you'll see some extra keys on the left hand side with the G on them. Those are our gaming macro keys, so we can program those to do a lot of different functions for us. So you can use them for gaming. Of course, that was mostly their intended advertised purpose, but also you can use them for productivity features. Also, don't forget, since we're working with such a high resolution, you can always adjust your scaling. In this case, we're using the pinch zoom to make our icons larger and smaller. Alright, time for more benchmarks. We have our synthetic benchmark scores on the SSD. So here's Crystal Disk Mark to show our read and write speeds. Now moving into one of our next benchmarks, which is going to be the noise test. We have a nice decibel meter here, and we're putting it right next to the exhaust. So this is a very worst case scenario. How loud could it be if you put your ear right on the exhaust? Right now the system is at idle, and next we'll put it under load and see how much it goes up. To really make good use of these scores, what you want to do is probably check out other reviews we've done and look at other laptops, and you can determine if this is relatively more quiet or more loud than most other systems. The common trend we see usually on small high-end gaming laptops is they tend to run a little bit hotter than the larger laptops because they produce just as much heat, but they don't have the surface area and the volume for the cooling system to get rid of it as easy. So to compensate, they might often run louder because the fans have to run faster and more constantly. So now we're actually going to do both sound and temperature testing so we can see if we're getting heat levels higher than normal or sound levels higher than normal. Again, most of these numbers are best compared relatively to other systems rather than evaluated on their own. So you would want to look at other laptops with the same video card and see how they do. But so far, the X3 is checking out to be fairly good as far as all the readings we have so far. Now what we're looking for here in this particular test is the temperatures at the keyboard and palm rest area. Keyboards do ventilate heat out of the system, that's pretty normal, but what you don't want to see is a hot palm rest because that means an uncomfortable laptop that will make your hands sweaty after prolonged use. As you can see here, the testing is showing that we do not have that problem, and that's a very good thing. Alright, now we're moving into the gamer's favorite part of the review, and that's our performance scores on the gaming benchmarks. Performance score of 9,421 on 3D Mark 11, and of course it's very important to look at our temperatures. You can see that the CPU reached a maximum of about 90 degrees Celsius, and as we move down a little bit more and we get into our GPU, you can see that it was at a 75 degrees Celsius, under full load under a benchmark, so that GPU was very cool, and the CPU was not as cool as some of the bigger laptops, but definitely not in that too hot range. A quick GPU Z snapshot, and of course a CPU Z snapshot. You can pause the video to look at these. This will give you the full details on the CPU and GPU. Our next benchmark is going to be 3D Mark Firestrike. We got a score of 6,551 on Firestrike. And we'll go look at our temperatures again. Very similar trend. We see about 90 degrees Celsius on the CPU, and down below the GPU at 75 degrees Celsius. Our next little test will be our speaker volume and system sound. Okay, with all of our benchmarks out of the way, it's time to get into the very last part of our review, which is going to be the minor disassembly of the unit. Now the X3 has mini screws around the perimeter. That's how you're going to take off the entire bottom panel. With all of our screws removed, we can now take off the bottom plate. Do keep in mind that the screws are of different lengths, so if you were to take apart your laptop, keep track of what screw went where, or you could mess something up when you put it back together. So very small laptop, what is packed inside? A very large portion of your space is your internal battery. You do only have 2 system RAM slots in this laptop. However, that's pretty adequate. On the Skylake platform, you can have 16 gigabytes of RAM in each for a total of 32 gigabytes. Now our 512 gigabyte SSD from Samsung is right there. It's the M2 form factor. As you can see on the right hand side, I've mentioned that we do have an open slot available to add a second. So you can have 2 SSDs, and they can also be put in RAID. So you can have RAID 1 for some extra redundancy or RAID 0 for some extra speed. Now as far as the rest of the system, we have our cooling fans on the corners for getting rid of the heat from the CPU and GPU. And just a few other miscellaneous components such as our speakers, our Bluetooth, and wireless access cards. Now the good thing about this unit is, even though it's an internal battery, it will not be very difficult to replace it when the time comes, because those batteries do degrade over time and would eventually be something you might want to replace. And a quick glance at the power specifications on that battery so you know your capacity. Well, for those of you who had seen one of our reviews before, you know when the disassembly comes, so does the end of the review. So unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. I do hope that the review of the Aorus X3 Plus V5 CF2 was useful for you. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about this laptop, then go to our website, gentechpc.com, and go to the product page. You can find the current pricing and availability and the full system specs. Of course, if there's any questions the video didn't answer for you, feel free to ask here in the comments section on the video. We'll answer them for you and for anybody else that had the same question. But if you need more one-on-one service, then feel free to contact us by phone or email. And of course, we'll get back to you and get the answers you need. So once again, we just want to remind you this was Gentech PC, and we'll see you next time.